We human beings are funny creatures because we're the only species that's able to introspect and try and understand ourselves. We're basically brains trying to understand brains.
And I know you don't agree with him any more than I do. We're not just brains, we're deeper than that. We can overthrow. Who are you talking to? No one?
But even though most of the time our self-awareness is about as cloudy as your nan's favourite apple juice, there are 7 cognitive biases, 7 sneaky things our brains do to help us survive that, if understood, can drastically change our lives. Here are those 7. Number 1. Reciprocity bias. Don't accept free stuff. Not so long ago, the Hare Krishna Foundation used to set up shop in busy train stations or airports. And as you rushed to catch your train or your flight, you would have been approached by one of their disciples and offered a flower for free. "What's this?" you might have asked. "It's our gift to you, sir," one of the disciples would have said. Now fueled with positive emotion and grateful for your gift, you would continue to rush for your train or plane until you were stopped by another one of the disciples. "I've already got a gift," you would tell him, to which he would respond, "Care to spare a donation, sir?" Us humans hate being in other people's debt, and many famous companies and influencers use this to their advantage. Wait, I'm an influencer. First they give, then they take. And reciprocity was a useful survival strategy for our ancestors. Let's imagine it's the 6th century BCE and you've just speared a deer, and you have enough meat to feed you for the next 2 weeks. But you can't possibly eat all of it, and refrigerators are still a few centuries away. And you share some of your meat with your fellow tribesmen. Sorry. Hoping in the future they'll do the same when you're out of luck. So their bellies become your refrigerators for your meat. In the modern day, reciprocity bias is what causes us to invite that couple we don't even like to dinner just because the week previously they invited us to their family barbecue. So the next time you're in a supermarket and some stranger offers you a sample of olives, wines and cheese, refuse the offer. Unless you want to be returning home with a car full of Italian specialities and 200 quid down. Number 2. Sunk cost fallacy. Why you should forget the past. Imagine you're sat in a movie theatre with your girlfriend, and 1 hour into the 3-hour film you're watching, you're unimpressed. So you lean over to your girlfriend and say, "Okay, this film is terrible. I've had enough." "What?" she replies, as if she's just bitten into a lemon. "We spent 40 quid on these tickets." So refusing to leave in an attempt to get the most out of her investment, your girlfriend has fallen prey to the sunk cost fallacy. So too is your friend who chooses to stay with his cheating partner of 7 years just because they've been together for 7 years. So too your friend who continues her 5-year degree in a subject she hates just because she's already 3 years into it. The sunk cost fallacy is most dangerous when we've invested time, money, energy or love into something. The more we invest, the greater the urge to continue. And the reason we persist in this irrational behaviour is because of consistency. We hate the idea of admitting what we previously thought is now wrong. So we persist in order to delay this realisation. But we've come this far. I've already read so much of this book. I'm already a few minutes into his video. Of course, in some cases it might be worth to persist in an investment, but to weigh up if you should. Don't think about the benefits this investment has already brought you, but think about the potential benefits, or lack thereof, this investment could bring you in the future. 3. The paradox of choice. Why less is more. We have so much to choose from. Go to your local supermarket and you'll find 30 different types of shampoo, 27 different brands of dark chocolate, and 9 different types of oat milk. Shop on Amazon for books and you'll have to pick one from the 2 million titles available to you. Consider finding your future partner, and if you're a cretin who uses dating apps, you'll have to swipe through 470 dead tings in order to find your one peng ting. When our parents were younger, they likely had 3 different types of yogurt, 4 television channels, 2 types of cheese, and 1 type of fish. In his book, The Paradox of Choice, the psychologist Barry Schwartz outlines why having an abundance of choice is actually very bad for us. Reason number 1, because it leads to inner paralysis. A supermarket did an experiment where they allowed customers to try 20 different types of jelly, and they could pick one they liked to then buy it at a discounted price. Then, the next day, they offered customers to try from 6 different types of jelly, again with the same deal. The result? They sold 10 times more jelly on day 2 than day 1 because, on day 1, customers couldn't choose. Reason number 2, it leads to poorer decisions. When most people think about what they look for in a potential partner, they say things like someone who's empathic, kind, takes care of their family, bubbly, supportive, isn't a stripper. But when it comes to choosing someone from the 200 potential options they have at their fingertips, they base their decision on one factor: physical attractiveness. So how can you make a sound decision when you've got 200 options? The truth is, You can't. The more choice you have, the more unsure you'll be that you've made the right decision. So what can you do? Be clear on what you want before you explore existing offers. Write down your criteria and standards and rigidly stick to them. And when you're making a decision, forget about making the best decision and just opt for a good enough decision. Yes, even when it comes to life partners. 4. Loss aversion. Why evil strikes harder than good. Giving you $100 would make you less happy than if I helped you avoid losing $100. And this explains why losing a job or a relationship hurts so much. Let's do a thought experiment. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling today? Now consider what would bring that score up to a 10, unless you're a positivity junkie and you scored 10. What would make it jump up to 10? A holiday to Spain? A promotion at work? A £5,000 deposit wired straight to your bank account? What would make your mood drop by the same number of points? Alzheimer's? A broken leg? Your friend dying? A meth addiction? Financial ruin? Your nan getting kidnapped? Blindness? Death? Diarrhea? What this exercise helps us realise is there are more bad things than good, and they're much more consequential. For our ancestors, this was even more so. Anything bad could have led them to waving bye-bye to life. Carelessness on a hunt, an inflamed tendon, or social isolation. So if you want to convince someone of something, don't highlight the advantages they could gain, but highlight how you can help them dodge the potential disadvantages. And the next time you're wondering why you haven't gone all in on your passion project, well, you have the answer. There's no escaping it. We notice bad more than good. So the next time you end a relationship, quit your job, or give up on chasing a dream of yours, be very careful about framing it as a loss. Number 5, action bias. Why waiting and watching is torture. There's a psychological phenomenon that plays out with goalkeepers in football. When the opposing player has to take the final penalty in a shootout in order for his team to win, the goalkeeper will never stay down the middle. Even though, on average, when people take penalties, they shoot a third of the time to the left, a third down the middle, and a third down the right. Why? Appearance. It looks better to make an effort and lose than to lose while doing nothing. Do anything, action bias tells us, even if it achieves nothing. We see action bias play out in junior officers who are too gung-ho to get involved in certain situations a senior officer would watch from a distance, or doctors who prescribe their patients anything even though they don't know what their diagnosis is, because who the bloody hell wants to leave a doctor's clinic after being told, Jim, you know what, mate? I don't actually know what's wrong with you. We are prone to action bias because we are the descendants of human beings who had to make lightning fast decisions. Our ancestors, gazing out from the valley peak, wouldn't have run a 5-minute thought experiment to try and dissect what that scarily long-toothed silhouette thing might be in the distance, because saber-toothed tiger or not, they would have made a run for it. However, our world today is different because it rewards reflection, even when our instincts tell us otherwise. But we're likely to be scorned by others if we're sat there twiddling our thumbs thinking things through, rather than rashly acting, even when doing so is for the good of our careers, relationships and sanity. So although you might not experience a parade of honour for your long-sightedness and patience to act, if a situation is unclear, hold back and assess your options. Take time, if you have that luxury, to dissect it, allowing as much time to pass as possible. For time reveals all. As Blaise Pascal said, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Number 6, the hedonic treadmill. Be careful what you wish for. Dan Gilbert, a Harvard psychologist, studied lottery winners, and he realised their happiness of becoming a multimillionaire overnight fizzles out after a few months. This is because we're always running on the hedonic treadmill. We work hard, earn good money to buy nice things. We work harder to earn more money to buy nicer things, but none of it makes us any happier. This inability to predict our emotions is called affective forecasting, and it also explains why after a breakup we think we're going to feel this miserable forever, until a few months later we're back on the dating scene. Well, hey! Wouldn't it be nice if we could just predict how happy things would make us? Well, your luck's in, because there are 3 scientific methods you can use to do so. 1. Avoid negative things you can't grow accustomed to, such as commuting, noise, or chronic stress. 2. Expect only short-term happiness from material things, such as cars, houses, bonuses, prizes, and clothes. 3. Aim for as much free time and autonomy as possible, because long-lasting positive effects come from the things we actively do. And follow your passions, even if doing so means you have to sacrifice some of your income and invest in your friendships. As Naval Ravikant says, if you can't be happy with a coffee, you won't be happy with a yacht. Lastly, inability to close doors. why you should set fire to your ships. Next to my bed, I have around 20 books that I dip in and out of at any given time. And I know that doing so doesn't lead to focused insight where I'm only thinking and learning about one thing, and I should probably just pick one. So why do I always do this? It's because as humans, we do everything in our power to keep open the maximal number of options. We all know that one person who's dating like 3 women at the same time and can imagine having a family with each of them but never commits to anyone. To give you a historical example, when the Spanish were aiming to overthrow the Aztec Empire, Hernan Cortés noticed before they were planning to do so that his men were demotivated and disgruntled, longing to return to the comforting shores of Spain and their families. But noticing they were on the cusp of an immense victory to overthrow Tenochtitlan, what is now known as modern-day Mexico City and back then was the main Aztec stronghold, Cortés ordered one person to go around to all of the Spanish ships and burn them. So his men had no choice but to stay on the shores of Mexico and fight the Aztecs, later leading to them overthrowing the Aztec Empire. That's where the historical saying "burn your ships" comes from. So, to combat our inability to close doors, we must realise each decision costs mental energy and takes up precious time we could be using for living or thinking. Naturally, we want to keep as many irons in the fire as possible and entertain the idea of doing everything. But this is a fantasy which leads us nowhere. We must learn how to close doors. So don't write up a list of everything you want to do in your life. Write down a list of everything you don't want to do in your life. The regrets you're willing to choose. Then, whenever a new opportunity arises in your life, consult your list of do nots, so you don't have to spend hours on end assessing each option. Think hard once, and you'll save yourself a lot of thinking time. As Rolf Dobelli says, most doors are not worth going through, even when the handle seems to turn so effortlessly. Quote of the week: it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that things are difficult. If you're interested in this cognitive woo-woo stuff, then I would definitely recommend The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli. Otherwise, stay disciplined, playful, and dangerous. Adios, muchachos.